Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the managing director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. As the title of this video suggests, we're discussing the state saying it needs more tax revenue. Interesting, coming from the same state that shut us all down for 3 years during COVID and said that, we couldn't do business, and now they're having a shortfall because there's air in the proverbial line. Well, that's what happens when you shut down everybody's business for years at a time. And with the concomitant effect that certain businesses just close, because you can't just shut down an economy and expect for businesses to just pop back open when you dictate. Okay? I mean, I thought that was learned with the folly that was the Soviet Union, but apparently not. So for those who are interested in deep dive analysis on how all of this impacts expat land, geopolitics, analysis regarding international economics, please feel free to check us out on my paid news service, Integrity News Service. You can email us to get on the email list for that, media@integrity-legal.com. Also, while I'm talking my book, my better half and I did set up a restaurant here in downtown Bangkok, Pancake Palace. As the name implies, it's breakfast anytime, as well as American diner style food, cheeseburgers, buffalo wings, etc. And we'd love to see you down there. Links in the description below to come say hi to us down there. But that said, getting back to this, again, the title being State Needs More Revenue says state. I thought of making this video after reading a recent article from the Bangkok Post, bangkokpost.com. Article is titled, State Tax Revenue Needs 600 Billion Boost. Well, first, who says? People forget, all these bureaucrats and things, they're not, there was a really smart guy that was a close friend of my family back in Kansas. And one time my mother went to his establishment and some employee was being not particularly courteous. And she kind of mentioned it to him. He said, hey, next time one of my people acts like that, you just tell them straight up, I'm the profit margin, you're the overhead. Why don't you go ahead and take care of me rather than worrying about it the other way around? Well, you know what? Tax collectors aren't part of the value creation that is the economy here in Thailand. Now, I'm not a guy that's totally anti-tax. I'm actually pretty okay with paying taxes. Here in Thailand especially, because I can actually see what it's going toward. Frankly, I see the infrastructure they're creating over here. I'm very happy for that. But that said, I also saw that for 3 years they shut us down during COVID, really based on apropos of nothing. And when they shut down one of our enterprises here, it was actually a client enterprise as well, we talked to them and they couldn't really give a valid reason. It was just because we say so. And I have real problems with the same entity that shut everybody down and said they couldn't work, saying we're having a shortfall now, acting as a parasite off of you who couldn't work because we said so. So that's the whole point of this. That said, quoting directly, government tax revenue needs to increase by an additional 600 billion baht. Really? You know what? In the private enterprise, if you're having that kind of a shortfall, you need to cut your budgets. Not we need to make, yeah, we'd all like to make more money, but sometimes you just can't. In a recessionary environment, that's what happens. Meanwhile, again, when you mandate everybody shut down their businesses and then expect to extract the same level of wealth out of them down the line, that's pretty ridiculous. Quoting further, as the current level is lower than that of countries with comparable economies to Thailand, says caretaker finance minister Pichai Chunhawajira. Yeah, by the way, is this the same guy that said that 50 million Thais, 57 million Thais who heretofore have not had to file taxes just magically need to now because they say so? And again, these are folks at the lower echelons of the socioeconomic strata, frankly, people who can afford it least. Quoting further, speaking at the Fiscal Policy Office's annual seminar, which this year ran under the theme of, quote, fiscal transformation, unquote, you mean digitization to a totalitarian system where you're trying to track and trace every little thing we all do so you can suck wealth out of us all? At the behest, by the way, of undue foreign influences like the OECD and the WEF? Is that the fiscal transformation we're talking about? Quoting further, held on Friday, he said state tax revenue accounts for only 15% of GDP. How is that GDP if you're sucking it out of the economy? First of all, GDP is a flawed metric to begin with because it only tabulates economic activity occurring in terms of bank credit. You have to understand that to begin with. But then now they're saying it's 15% of GDP, state tax revenue, so money you're extracting off of people in the entrepreneurial, free market, free enterprise economy, that's part of GDP somehow? How is that? Government spending, this is Keynesian nonsense thinking. And by the way, Stalin once said communism is socialism in a hurry. Well, Keynesianism is socialism by subterfuge. It's all theft from the value creators in the real economy. That's what it all amounts to. So this notion that 15% of GDP, gross domestic product, is somehow in the government sector is ridiculous, okay? No, they're extracting 15% of the overall tabulatable economy in bank credit terms to redistribute it, quite honestly, in inefficient ways. That's what's happening. Quoting further, about 3 percentage points less than countries with similar sized economies. Well, again, how do you tabulate that? Based on what the bankers say the economy size is? Quoting further, in light of this, tax revenue should increase by another 600 billion baht, said Mr. Pichai. Yeah, again, that's the point of the state needs more revenue, says state. I mean, it's just really, this needs to stop. You know, this is not what made Thailand great. What made Thailand great was the free market, free enterprise spirit of this economy, with Thai liberty and the ability to do business in such a way without a bunch of vultures on our back trying to suck money off of all of us and letting us get on down the road and do our business. I really find this disconcerting. I hope we see this turn around sooner rather than later, and we will certainly be keeping you updated on this channel as the situation evolves.